Just what does Julian Sayin have to do to have a successful 2025 season? Let's talk about it. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If that's something you're into, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Do you think that Julian Sayin needs to do any number of things that I'm going to list here to have a successful 2025? Tell me what you think that one thing is going to be. For some Ohio State fans, I think it's going to be quite simple, and we'll talk about what that answer is as we get a little bit further into this. But I want to take this opportunity to talk about what it is that Ohio State is facing with Julian Sayin, who I think is going to have the edge against Lincoln Kienholz. I realize that there are those Buckeye fans that are still holding out hope that Lincoln Kienholz is going to beat out Julian Sayin to start against Texas week 1. No, sir. I simply do not see it. This is the number one quarterback in the 2024 class. It's a man that was committed to play for Nick Saban at Alabama, only ain't playing at Alabama because Nick Saban retired. Transfers to Ohio State because he understands that he can compete and win the job 2025. Became very clear when Devin Brown decided to transfer to Cal and when Aaron Nolan decided to transfer to South Carolina that it's probably going to be that guy that gets the job. Say nothing of Tavian St. Clair joining up. He's going to get this year holding a clipboard, right, for lack of a better term. So we know that Julian Sayin has all the pedigree that you would want. We know that he spent a year in the system that was put together by Ryan Day, run by one Chip Kelly, and now it's going to get play calls from one Brian Hartline, right? It's also going to have a really great supporting cast. It's also going to be the fourth quarterback that Ohio State has had in as many years, right? We're talking about C.J. Stroud. We're talking about Kyle McCord, Will Howard, and now Julian Sayin. I mentioned CJ to start here because CJ's 2021 season was remarkable. I don't think that people give it enough credit. Over 4,000 yards passing. I think it was over 4,400. And we're talking about more than 40 TDs, just 6 interceptions. Did they win the national championship? No. But that team was good. That team was great. He could throw the ball all over the yard. It was so much fun to watch. After he goes, Kyle McCord ends up winning the job. Many people thought that Kyle McCord was going to be a better version of what C.J. Stroud was doing. Turned out to not be the case. Still wasn't bad, right? Threw for about 3,600 yards, right? Most of those to Marvin Harrison Jr. in a year in which Marvin Harrison Jr. won the Biletnikoff Award. And it was really that two-man game. It was either Kyle McCord was throwing the ball, it seemed, to Marvin Harrison Jr. or not at all, right? You lose the game to Michigan, and you end up going to the transfer portal at the end of this, coming out of Syracuse, because Will Howard transfers in. Okay. Will Howard adds a dimension to Ohio State's game that they had not seen at the quarterback position since one Justin Fields. Fields, who is a passer first, even if Jets fans and Pittsburgh Steelers fans and Chicago Bears fans never wanted to see it. They see it the same way, apparently, that one Kirby Smart did at Georgia. That dude could spin it. I think getting his ability to run, Will Howard, and in addition to throw the ball for 4,000 yards, 35 TDs, and I believe 10 interceptions, changes the atmosphere, right? His ability to pick up those yards in the gotta-have-it situations, not something that C.J. Stroud could do, not something that Kyle McCord could do. Add to that, he had a really great running back room. Quinshawn Judkins, Travion Henderson. Really great wide receiver core. Mecca Ibuka, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis. You can see with that defense why they won the national championship. Now, they're losing a lot of that. A lot of that has already gone to the NFL, but that's nothing new for Ohio State. They are used to this. They develop, and they develop, and they develop. And what they can't develop, they go get in the form of, say, C.J. Donaldson, who we expect to be RB1, RB2 this season behind or with one James Peoples. We're also talking about Jeremiah Smith in year 2, which ought to be pretty damn good. He had an outstanding true freshman season and will be the front runner to not just win the Biletnikoff Award, but perhaps to win the Heisman Trophy, depending on what happens against Texas. Given the game that he had for Buck 87 against Oregon, he does against Texas. It's going to be really difficult to talk people out of him winning the Heisman Trophy, especially if the Buckeyes put together another spectacular regular season. So what does Julian Sayin have to do in all of this, other than run the offense? I think if he passed for 4,000 yards, it's good. Passes 40 TDs. It's good. Throws fewer than 10 interceptions. It's good. All these things will probably put you in a Heisman Trophy conversation, if not in the conversation as the best freshman, or I should say redshirt freshman, in America. We'll also point to the supporting cast you have, right? Mylan Graham ought to be a revelation in this offense alongside wide receiver 1 in Jeremiah Smith, wide receiver 2 in Carnell Tate, wide receiver 3 in Brandon Ennis. They're also going to be retooled on the offensive line, but that's okay, right? Because they got to see what they had, and they made some really great changes to go get some guys that can help them out. They also add Max Clare at the tight end position. He ought to have everything he needs. But I believe he doesn't need to win the national championship in 2025 to have a successful season. I don't even think he needs to win the Big Ten championship in 2025 to have a successful season. I do believe he has to beat Michigan to have a successful season. He would be able to say that he had been able to do something that neither Will Howard, who won a national championship, Kyle McCord, or C.J. Stroud managed to do in each of the last 4 years. Also, probably leads to you being the year 2 starter for Ohio State for the first time since Stroud. I think that many Buckeyes fans have been satiated for the time being with this national championship win, especially in the way that they went and did it, right? They did not get the bye. They had to play at home against Tennessee. They stomped a mud hole in them and walked it dry. They beat up on Oregon in the Rose Bowl, which felt like the last hurdle that they would have to overcome. And as far as a team that might be as talented as they are and had beaten them before, people forget this. Then they go beat Texas, and then they go beat Notre Dame. As I continue to ask questions about what it is that I would like to see from a guy like Julian Sayin, it comes back to a level of consistency that we just don't normally get from a redshirt freshman. We get lots of excitement from these guys for good reason. They're talented. He's talented. He's got all the tools that you want. But when I look at college football, the thing that always stands out to me is the guys that have the most starts, that have played the most football, tend to play the best. Dylan Gabriel, 6 years as a quarterback in college football, had his best season in his last year at Oregon, right? It's a man that was a Heisman finalist. Same thing was true of Bo Nix before him. Wasn't great to start at Auburn. Ends up being great at Oregon. Look at Garrett Nussmeier going into this all-important draft-eligible year. He's going to be good going into year 2 as a starter. He can sling it. Tyler Shuck, who really hadn't done much since leaving Oregon, plays at Louisville after stopping at Texas Tech, puts together his best season in year 7. I think this is going to set really what is the baseline for what you can expect for Sayin in year 2 or even year 3, which now is not a guarantee given what the transfer portal can do and just how up and down your season can go. But when we start talking about him putting up the kind of numbers that Howard did or C.J. Stroud did, I think maybe it's a little much, right? But when you look at the kind of talent that he has, what do you expect him to do? Well, you expect him to be better than Bryce Underwood, right? You just do, even though Bryce Underwood is the number 1 player in the 2025 class. It matters being in the system. It matters playing college ball. Ask Quinn Ewers the same thing, right? You're going to get better from year to year. I think for him, if you beat Michigan and that's what you can get done, then everything else is going to fall into place. I am really excited to find out what he looks like against Pete Kwiatkowski's defense, especially as they got that defense schematically on film, just like they got the offense on film at Texas. Because that's also going to tell us what you can expect to see when they got to play Jim Knowles, Penn State. That's going to be a lot of fun. They got to come back to the shoe. And I'm sure Buckeye fans can't wait to welcome Jim Knowles back after the way in which things ended with them. They also get an opportunity to, once again, prove to everyone that they are the top dog in the Big Ten, because that isn't necessarily true if you're talking about Big Ten play, right? National championship should trump everything, but it doesn't for many. I think for Oregon, they should be supportive of an Ohio State runs this conference because they've never won a national championship, and they now have proof to show just because you win the Big Ten championship and you enter the college football playoff as the number 1 seed does not mean you're even going to play in the championship game. If you just get got on that day, that's your day. So watch Julian Sayin stack together game after game. Let's look at what his worst game looks like, what his best game looks like, and then let's see what he does against ranked opponents. But all important, that game number 12, Ohio State, Michigan, can he be that guy that breaks this losing streak to the Wolverines? That, I think, is going to be his barrier for success.